WJZ's complete coverage continues right now. Bob Turk in the First Warning Weather Center with the potential impact of the storm and the expected rainfall. But first, McNamara has the very latest on the path Irma is taking right now and the power she's packing. Meg.
Well, Jonathan, South Florida already taking a beating from Hurricane Irma, and we know this is just the beginning. But you can see these outer bands here of the storm moving across South Florida. Heavy rain, lots of lightning, embedded tornadoes, so they are already seeing it all. Right now, the center of Irma taking its time to move away from the coast of Cuba. So right now, moving northwest 6 miles an hour, and we care about that northwest because we are seeing it make that turn, meaning yes, it is headed for Florida. Maximum sustained winds at 120 miles an hour. So yes, it did weaken some when it interacted with land as it moved along the coastline there of Cuba. But don't let your guard down. This is expected to re-strengthen as it moved towards Florida during the overnight hours. So before it heads that way, re-strengthening to a Category 4 storm, potentially, if not just those maximum sustained winds coming up there. Now, as for the track here, so you will notice it is either going to be the center of the storm right now looks to be either right along the coastline, if not right over it, very, very close to it, this western side here of the state of Florida. And then as it tracks through here, portions of Alabama, Georgia, and then eventually becoming a remnant low. It looks like sometime, it looks like early next week over parts of Tennessee, parts of Arkansas. But obviously the big threat there is for Florida. We're talking heavy rain, but the storm surge, obviously the biggest threat with the potential for 10 to 15 feet. Let's run the computer model. So in more agreement here about it moving up here, this western coast of Florida, right along this area. However, there is a threat to the entire state, but it does look like the center of it more of a threat for the western portion. Of course, something we're tracking. I want to turn now to Bob Turk. So he has some information on not only the rain that the state is expecting, but also the kind of system in place keeping Irma on the track that it's on. Bob?
Thank you, Meg. Let's take a look at this next graphic. It's sort of a potential of how much rain they expect to happen. As you see, some of those numbers up to 20 inches or so. I think most of South Florida will have between 10 and 20 inches of rain. We're talking, they've already had flooding over the last 2 weeks over much of South Florida anyway. Even up to portions of Georgia, 10, 15 inches is possible. And then it begins the weekend as it heads further north and northwest as the storm kind of loses its moisture source. But we do have hurricane warnings out for, look at that, almost the entire southern portion of the state, and tropical storm warnings and watches out for northern sections or even into portions of Georgia, as you can see. Why is this storm now? Remember, we had it going up the east coast. Now it's going up to pretty much the west coast. The big reason that it's been continuing to head out to the west eventually, and it's been over the water so long, is this big ridge that's been sitting there. It's finally beginning to weaken a little bit. That's what is allowing the storm to sort of move more northwest and eventually up the coast there of western side of Florida. So very many influences on these big storms. It's almost impossible to say exactly where it's going to make landfall, but where it does, we're going to have some tremendous damage. Already going to see that in the Keys and on many sections of western central Florida. In fact, most of the state should see some damage from tropical storm force winds and the flooding rains as well. Back to you.